There is arguably no better feeling in fantasy football than when you land an absolute steal. You get my 2025 Fantasy Football Draft Dominator, which is jam-packed with strategy and analysis for 250-plus players. And he's been strong in fantasy football. He's averaging over 18 fantasy points per game over 25 career games where he's played at least 73% of the offensive snaps. 2025 Week Winner, formerly known as the Heat Map. So you can conquer start-sit dilemmas, find plug-and-play streamers, and dominate your weekly matchups with this one-of-a-kind resource, Discord community, where you can get personalized advice from 180-plus and counting sharp fantasy football minds that are helping each other dominate. 365 days of elite fantasy football analysis, resources, and Discord community. Woo! Yeah, buddy. Week 11 is here, and man, from a pure football standpoint, this looks like it's going to be one of the best slates of the season. We got Chiefs, Broncos, we got Buccaneers, Bills, Seahawks, Rams. That game should be awesome. Today, right now, Detroit, Philly. Yeah, we got what's the Monday night game? Cowboys, Raiders. Man, lots of good stuff coming up this week. And today, right now, we've got some start-sit decisions to make. We've got matchup edges that your league mates haven't caught on to yet. And, of course, we've got Week 11 analysis for every single quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, defense, and kicker on the Week 11 slate. What's up, my friends? Welcome to Week 11 of Fantasy Football. I'm Mikey Henninger. That is Tanner Dawson, and this is Inside the 20 by Basement Brewed Fantasy Football. So over the next hour or so, Tanner and I are going to answer as many fantasy football questions as we possibly can. Now, 99% of them are probably going to be start-sit questions, but if you have questions about trades or waivers or the meaning of life or any question that you might have, just throw it in the chat. We'll see if we can get to it. Now, if you've been here before, welcome back, and thank you for tuning in. You already know what to expect from the show. We really appreciate you being here. If you're new to the show, welcome, and thank you for tuning in. If you're expecting one of those quick player A or player B with no context, fire from the gut type of shows, this is not going to be that. Our promise to you is actually pretty simple. We are never going to answer from the gut. We're never going to answer just based on opinion. Instead, every answer that we're going to give you is based on data and stats and actual context and analysis. So we're going to walk you through the way that we would decide on your fantasy football dilemma, like your dilemma is our own. And we're going to do everything that we can to put you in the best possible position to be right. Now, are we going to get every single one of them right? Heck no. There's not a human on the planet that gets every single one of these right. But if we follow a structurally sound process, we are going to get more right more often than we get it wrong. So if you're hanging out live, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button so that more fantasy football degenerates can find the show. And while you're here, go ahead and subscribe to the Basement Brewed Fantasy Football YouTube channel. We're less than 80 away from hitting 1,000. Tanner, we are less than 80 away, man. What a journey it's been.
Insane what this journey's brought for us, you know, and this is how close we are from 1,000. So it's been a fun time.
I don't remember where we started, Tanner. I know I like had some subscribers, but I think it was like 150 because I really wasn't doing much with it. And now, you know,
That's
a little bit over a year.
Thinking.
Yeah. And it's been a little bit over a year. I think we started in February-ish of last year.
February-ish of last year. We started doing some episodes, figuring life out, and look at us in year 2.
Figuring it all out. Yeah. If anybody here has watched any of my recorded episodes, the magic man behind the scenes making that episode so awesome, that's Tanner right here on the show. In fact, this pretty flashy background we got going on, I'm loving this new background, by the way. That's all Tanner. I have no idea how to press these buttons, so can't do this without you, buddy. I appreciate you. Dude, are your Chiefs going to get it done? Big division game coming up here.
They have to. Plain and simple. They have to.
No.
I think they will. I'm not scared of the Broncos by any means. You know, they're half their defense, it seems like. Bo Nix. as much as some people love him, I'm not impressed by that offense. So we have to. We have to.
Them's fighting
Plain
words,
simple.
man. Them's fighting
It's Bronco
words.
week. It's Bronco week, man. I'm
That's
not
fair.
giving
Yeah.
props.
No, I get it, man. I get it. That'd be like me giving Bears props, but
Yes.
Packers got a schedule coming up, man. We got the Lions, Vikings, and Bears coming up in the next few weeks. So they are playing so terribly right now. They need to figure it out quickly because it's about to get hot. Well, my guy, we got a game kicking off in about 17-ish minutes. So I think, or whatever, I can't do math.
15
minutes. So why don't we make sure we try to prioritize anything that features Miami Dolphins or Washington Commanders? Tan man.
Let's take a look here. What we got going on here.
Maybe there aren't any, and that's totally cool.
No, I'm sure we got something here. I'm looking through real quick. Just make sure I don't miss here.
Yeah, I'm looking too.
Watson. Hey, there you go. A little kudos from Scott Cove, who just got the week winner for week 11. He's loving it. So
yeah, man. I was walking through Pick and Save, the local grocery store, the other day, and it just dawned on me. And I was walking down the chips aisle, and a bag of Doritos was like $4.20, and I'm like, dude, I do 20 to 30 hours of research on every single quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and I sell it for $2.99. And like, it's less than a bag of Doritos for me pouring my entire life into this thing. You know, that's wild. But anyways, Scott, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for giving it a shot. Thank you.
So he does have one. I did answer him yesterday, really kind of breaking it down on the week winner, especially with the Laporta news that dropped yesterday. So, but he was looking at Debo or Jamison. I think it's a good place to start here to kick us off. Yeah, no,
I agree with you, especially because Debo's kicking off in just a few minutes, right? Here's the thing, just right off the top, you know, it's Debo is somebody that's easy to feel at least decent about in your fantasy football lineup because he's basically all the Washington Commanders have at this point. There's no Terry McLaurin. They do have Zach Ertz, but he really hasn't done all that much. Now, Debo started the season hot with Washington. It's just kind of cooled off a little bit, but you still feel at least okay about the floor that he can bring you just based on sheer target volume. The issue is the ceiling, right? And Jameson Williams is arguably the opposite, right? We've literally seen Jameson Williams give you 0, and we've seen Jameson Williams give you 20 plus. Now, I just sent out literally maybe an hour ago, 30 minutes ago, I sent out a notification to all of my subscribers, all of the BBFF members. Hey, just a quick update for everybody that I upgraded Jameson Williams' projection, just giving it a little bit extra thought, a little bit extra analysis. The loss of Sam Laporta frees up 5+ targets per game, but it also leaves no question as to who the number 2 option in that passing attack is, right? Usually it's Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then you can go either way between JMO and Sam Laporta. Now it's very clearly going to be Jameson Williams. Dan Campbell has taken over the play calling there, and that looks like it's going to be a benefit to Jameson Williams. They're prioritizing getting the ball. So the arrow is pointing up on JMO moving forward. He's hot. He scored, I think, 17+ PPR points in 3 of the last 4 weeks. So he's playing really well. Now we'll start with Debo Samuel, and just a quick mention for anybody who's brand new to the show, hasn't seen this yet. What you're looking at on the screen right now, this is that resource that I was telling you about that costs less than a bag of Doritos, which when I say it like that is insane to me. But this is a resource that I pour my blood, sweat, and tears into every single week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I spend 20+ hours studying, researching, and writing about literally every single quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, defense, and kicker on the slate. So no matter what quarterback you're considering this week, or tight end, or even kicker, I have analysis for them in the week winner here. Debo Samuel, we're feeling pretty solid about this game environment. This Commanders Dolphins game should be a entertaining one for an NFL fan. It should be a decent one from a fantasy football standpoint. The Commanders are entering this game as slim 2-point road underdogs. They're not really a road team, right? This isn't, well, both teams are road teams considering this game is in Spain, I think this week.
Spain.
Right?
Yeah.
Spain.
Yeah. Madrid.
Now the Commanders, they do have a projected team total of about 22.5. That's very mediocre. That's not good. That's not bad. It's just very middle of the pack. What we like about this game is that it has a healthy over-under of 47.5 points. So that suggests to us if the Commanders can simply exceed their modest scoring expectations, this game does have a sliver of shootout appeal. This is a game that I would rather target than avoid in week 11 of fantasy football. Now, Deebo Samuel in his first year with the Commanders, he's doing well, right? He's averaging 13 plus PPR points per game. He's getting 26% of the targets. He's played 4 games with Marcus Mariota this year. He's only averaging 10.5 PPR points. It hasn't been pretty. He's definitely cooled off since the start of the year. He scored fewer than 5 points in 2 of those games with Marcus Mariota. He scored 12.9 points with him last week. He had a high of 20 plus points back in week 4. I'm treating him as a wide receiver 3 in this possible shootout, but here's the problem. Terrifying matchup. The Miami Dolphins are nails against wide receivers this year. They are holding wide receivers to the 6th fewest catches, fewest yards, and 5th fewest PPR points per game, and yet somehow they're still allowing the 14th most touchdowns. That's always wild to me how that works. But there have only this number in particular is wild to me. The Dolphins have played 10 games this year, and there have only been 9 wide receivers all season that have been able to reach 10 PPR points against Miami. That's less than 1 per game, getting to just 10. 10's not even that good. That's like low-end flex, and they're barely getting there. 3 of them have gotten to 15 plus points, so that's about 30% of the time that there's a wide receiver getting to 15 plus points. It's just a really, really tough matchup for wide receivers. Then we'll really quickly go through Jameson Williams here. The game itself is just very meh. It's just very fine. The Lions are very similar to the Commanders in that they're slim underdogs on the road, very mediocre team total of 22 points. This game doesn't have the same type of over-under as the other game. It doesn't suggest as much of a shootout as the Commanders-Dolphins game, but it's not one to avoid by any means either. I mentioned this just a few minutes ago. Sam Laporta's on IR. That frees up 5.4 targets per game. J-Mo's getting 16 plus PPR points in 3 of the last 4. He's averaging 10.9 PPR points per game. He's getting about 16.3% of the targets. That number's going to go up a little bit here without Jameson Williams. But as we know, this dude is as boom or bust as it gets in all of fantasy football. He scored 0 to 7 PPR points in 5 of 9 games this year, but also 16 plus PPR points in 4 of 9 games. A low of 0, a high of 23.9. This dude has scored 0 to 2 PPR points in 2 of the last 5 games, but in the other 3 games, he scored 16 to 24. I mean, that's as boom or bust as it gets in fantasy football, and we're treating him that way. A boomer bust wide receiver 3/4. The matchup itself is very, very mediocre. The Eagles aren't scary. They're not exciting. They're just mediocre. They're giving up the 13th most catches to wide receivers, 14th most yards to wide receivers, limiting them to the 2nd fewest touchdowns, 14th fewest PPR points per game. 9 wide receivers in 9 games have been able to get to 10. 6 of them have been able to get to 17 plus. And 4 of them have been able to get to 20 plus. So it's a better matchup than what we're seeing. I got him projected for about 10 to 14 PPR points. And then Deebo, we have projected for about 11 to 15. So a slight edge to Deebo. I'll say this, though, Scott. If you're going for floor, Deebo Samuel is arguably going to be the better bet just based on guaranteed, which, as you know, Tanner, I hate that word in fantasy football. But there's a much better target and touch projection and potential for Deebo Samuel than there is for Jameson Williams. But if you're going for the ceiling, that's going to be J-Mo. J-Mo is going to be the ceiling. So I would say look at the projections of your matchup. Is it going to be close? Are you expected to win by a lot, lose by a lot? What does that look like? And then make that floor or ceiling determination there.
Yeah, I agree there. It's just kind of what are you needing at this point? You know, it's where you want to bank on. Are you okay with Jameson potentially getting 20 and maybe 2 points, instead? So just kind of where you're kind of sitting at. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So good deal. Yeah, awesome. Thanks.
Yeah,
Scott.
That's a good way to put it, Tanner. You have. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Is you have to be comfortable with the possibility of less than 5 points because it's in his realm of possibility for sure.
It really is. So awesome. Thanks, Scott. We'll pop up here to Derek Devereaux. Derek, appreciate you. Happy Sunday. Good morning,
Kev?
gentlemen. What do we think about AJ Brown this week? Normally I'd start my studs, but he's been such a disappointment. Should I start Keenan Allen instead? Thanks.
I know, man. It's wild, right? Because I'm always team start your studs, but is AJ Brown a stud this year? You know, it's like every week we keep expecting the blow up, especially because he keeps whining and crying on every time I'm on social media. It's like AJ Brown had something bad to say about the Eagles offense. And a lot of times in football, you see coaches prioritize those players, just that squeaky wheel syndrome. But I don't know, man. There seems to be a lot of negativity, which is wild because the Eagles they just won a Super Bowl. They're still in the upper echelon of the NFC. So it's weird to see all the turmoil there. But I'll say this, the setup is great for AJ Brown. Like when you look at the stats and the data, there's a lot to like about AJ Brown this week. Popping over the week winner here. We talked a little bit about the game environment with the Eagles Lions, so we're not going to spend too much time there. In fact, we don't need to spend any time. I just told you guys exactly what we're looking at with the Eagles Lions, but it's been ugly for AJ Brown, right? He's averaging 11.2 PPR points per game. That's fine, but that's not what you're spending your second. You're not spending your second round pick on 11.2 PPR points per game. You're going for 15 plus, and that just hasn't been the case this year. It's not a lack of targets, by the way. It might be a lack of raw targets, like the Eagles just don't throw the ball all that much, but as far as his team target share goes, he gets plenty. He's averaging 25.7% of the team's total targets. Part of the problem is he's only catching roughly half of them, 3.9 catches on 6.8 targets per game. The floor has been pretty ugly, right? He's getting you 3+ PPR points 75% of the time. We want that number to be a lot higher, at least 8, 9, 10. He's only getting 8+ PPR points 50% of the time, but the ceiling, we've seen the ceiling this year, right? 16+ PPR points in a quarter of his games, 24+ PPR points in 10% of his games. I hate to say it, but this is what he's been this year. Like literally, if you look at where he stacks up compared to other wide receivers this year, he's a wide receiver 4. He's a wide receiver 4/ flex. We're far enough into this. We're more than halfway through the season that at some point you have to stop calling him a wide receiver 1 and a wide receiver 2. At some point, he is what he is. And this year he's a wide receiver 4/ flex. Now, this is the funny part, right? The ceiling for AJ Brown is wide receiver 1. Any week, he could be a wide receiver 1. He could be the wide receiver 1 in any given week. We know that. We've seen that from AJ Brown. The matchup is really nice. The Lions are a friendly matchup for wide receivers. They are holding them to the 14th fewest catches, but that's not really where AJ Brown's buttering his bread anyway. It's not catches, it's yards and touchdowns. And the Lions are allowing the 16th most yards, second most touchdowns, ultimately the 11th most PPR points per game. 11 wide receivers in 9 games have been able to reach 10 PPR points, 6 of which have been able to get to 15, 3 of which have been able to get to 20. It's a good spot for AJ Brown. I do have him projected for 14 to 19 PPR points. Well, I already forgot the other one. Keenan. I feel like Derek asks about Keenan every week, and I feel like I feel like whatever I say, it goes the other way with Keenan Allen. So probably do the opposite of whatever route I go here.
Feels like my college bets.
Just college picks, you say?
Yeah, my college bets on Saturdays. It's not been pretty, man. It's not been pretty.
Maybe that's the value of the show. Do the opposite of how we go through it. Let's see. Chargers, Jaguars. This game, I feel like could and should be a fun one, at least from an actual NFL standpoint. The Chargers are entering this game. They're slim 3-point road favorites, decent projected team total of 23.25. That's solid. That's above average. It's not crazy. It's not what, like, usually if you have an offense that's going to get 26, 27, 28 points, those are the ones that you're like, okay, I got to get this offense into my lineup. But 23.25 is still above average. Keenan Allen has been really interesting in fantasy football this year. On the season, he is technically averaging 13 PPR points per game. That's a good number. It's been a little bit ugly lately, which I'll talk about in just a second. On the season, he's still getting 22.7% of the team's total targets. That's a really nice target share, especially in that offense where they have Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson, Keenan Allen, Oronde Gadsden, who's been on fire lately. He's averaging 8 targets per game because the Chargers are throwing the ball a ton, way more than Greg Roman ever has thrown the ball in his time as an offensive coordinator. But he's on the colder side lately. He's averaging just 10.5 PPR points per game over his last 7. So it's been almost 2 months since he's started the season on fire. He scored fewer than 9 PPR points in 5 of the last 7 games. We're treating him like a touchdown or bust wide receiver 3 in this friendly matchup, but it is a friendly matchup. The Jaguars are allowing the 11th most catches, 15th most yards, 6th most touchdowns, 10th most PPR points per game. 11 different wide receivers in 9 games have been able to get to 10 or 11. 6 of them have gotten to 15. 5 of them have been able to get to 20. So they do allow those big ceiling weeks. Ultimately here in this one, I'm going to be going with A.J. Brown. It hasn't been pretty, and we know it could be ugly, as it has been ugly most of the year, but it hasn't been pretty for Keenan Allen over the last 2 months either. And A.J. Brown is going to bring that bigger upside, especially in the matchup that he has. The over-under on that game, I thought was, let me see, I just updated these numbers. That right now it's sitting at 46.5. That's solid. That's still, usually the midline is like 44.5, so that's theoretically above average. And, you know, the Lions have a projected team total of just 22 points. We know that offense can be explosive as heck. Like, we've seen them lead the league in scoring multiple times over the last few years. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't think it would surprise anybody if this game actually shoots out a little bit. If the Lions get over 22 points, if the Eagles get over 24 points. And then that Chargers-Jaguars game, it's the opposite, right? 43.5 over under. That's slightly below average. We're not expecting that game to shoot out too much. I'm going to go with the floor feels similar these days between Keenan Allen and A.J. Brown, but the ceiling for A.J. Brown is always wide receiver 1. I'm going to go A.J. Brown on this one.
I'd have to. I'm right there with you. I don't think I can sit A.J. Brown still over Keenan Allen. I do like Keenan's matchup here. I mean, Jaguars do tend to allow some receptions, but I mean, you just. It's going to be it could potentially be a shootout there on Sunday Night Football tonight. So,
yeah,
you know, just
it is Sunday night, isn't it? Yeah, I didn't realize
it
was
is
the Sunday game. So, hey,
cool.
I'm team Go Pack Go. So I'm saying go eat. Let's go go Birds or Fly Birds or whatever the heck they say. Like, let's go Eagles.
Need some help.
Yep.
You already talked about one guy here, Scott. Here once earlier in the show, put in Dalton Schultz or Jameson Williams at PPR.
It's going to be hard for me to say
go tight end.
Go tight end here. Schultz. I'll say this though, Dalton Schultz has been really, really good this year. Like quietly sneaky good. And that's probably because he's not like lighting the world on fire, but he's just been a solid, reliable option. So this is going to be game 5, the Houston Texans. I got to scroll up a little bit here because I have them in the yellow column. Here we go. Ultimately, I feel fine with Dalton Schultz, but I'm not pressing to get him into my lineup here. So this game, by the way, has gotten pretty ugly from a just sheer projection standpoint, just the game itself. Texans Titans over under 37.5. That's the lowest on the slate. That's very low. 37.5 is gross. Like,
low.
And it's not even all the Titans. Like, the Titans are bad, don't get me wrong. They're projected for just 16 points, as you can see here, but the Texans are projected for just 21.5 points. That's less than average. Usually that average midline is about 22, 23 points. So you got a 37.5 over under and both teams under 22 points. It just sets up as one of those gross games where there's just not going to be a lot of fantasy football fireworks. Okay. The other part of this is that the Texans are 5.5 point favorites. That's a nice positive suggested game script that theoretically they shouldn't have to do anything crazy. They don't need Davis Mills to go throw the ball 40 times. They can turn around and give it to their rookie, Woody Marks, which, by the way, happy Woody Marks week, everybody. This is a Woody Marks week. So there's no need for them to put the ball in the air at a high frequency, and that's kind of the issue with Dalton Schultz besides the matchup. Now, Dalton Schultz himself is doing pretty well. See, I got to update this. This is CJ Stroud specific, but he's averaging 9.6 PPR points per game. The issue with Dalton Schultz this week, besides the lack of volume, is the matchup. The Titans this week have been a pretty tough matchup, or this year have been a pretty tough matchup for tight ends. They're holding them to the 14th fewest catches, 10th fewest yards, 9th fewest touchdowns, 10th fewest PPR points per game. Just 2 tight ends in 9 games. Michael Mayer and I thought that looked weird. I was like, why does that look weird? Spelled it wrong. Michael Mayer and Aronde Gadsden have been able to reach 10. Just one has been able to get to 12 PPR points. I think we're going like, I have Dalton Schultz projected for, I think 7 to 11 PPR points. I'd probably call it closer to 6 to 10 now that it's Davis Mills and not CJ Stroud. There's too much working in Jamison Williams' favor. And if the Lions have to throw the ball 30 plus times, he's a good bet to get some targets. I'm going JMO here. Much, much bigger ceiling than Dalton Schultz.
I don't think I could start a tight end. I know, like you said, Schultz has been pretty solid, but too, if you look, what the Titans has allowed for tight end wise with like Warren Henry, Mayer, McBride, like reception wise alone, I know yards wise it's not even that high. It's like 50 people, everybody's under 50 for the most part. But like Warren Henry and Mayer, McBride, they were all under that 5 reception mark, 5 or less. So
yep,
I'm down for it.
Yep.
Isaac Zart, I think we'll go with it.
Isaac, yeah, what's up, man?
Start 2 RBs, 2 receivers, 1 flex. Holy cow! There's your list.
Whew.
There's your list.
This one might take the remainder of the show,
but he can't decide. So here's the big one. He can't decide between Tet or White to flex. So we'll go with that one.
Tet McMillan or who's what? Oh, Rashad White. Rashad White.
Yeah.
Okay. Dude, I don't know why my brain just went back all the way back to Roddy White. I have no clue why that's there. It's weird how those names just creep up. Hey, BBFF family, if you're listening, if you're watching, go ahead and throw Roddy White in the Remember These Guys channel on Discord. If you're anybody here, let me share my screen here real quick, Tanner. Anybody who's a member of Basement Brewed Fantasy Football gets access to our Discord server, which is what you're looking at here. In fact, I mean, the Start Sit channel is probably hopping. Where is it? Start Sit channel is probably hopping this morning. People asking Start Sit questions, helping each other out, helping each other dominate. DFS channels, betting channels. We got a lot that's going on in the Discord server. But, of course, we also got the awesome Remember These Guys, where if you just randomly think of an old fantasy football player, you throw them in there. So yesterday I randomly thought of Carson Palmer. A few days ago, randomly thought of Travis Henry. Now I thought about Roddy White. So we threw him in there. But anyways, Ted McMillan or Rashad White? Let's go ahead and answer that question. But first, Tanner, before we dive into that question, if you're watching this show, if you're liking what you're seeing with the week winner, you'll see that above Tanner's head, and I never know which way to point. That way? Yeah, that way.
There you go.
You'll see above Tanner's head, there's a QR code that you can scan that's going to take you to my storefront. WAP.com, as you can see on the screen, WAP.com/BBFF. If you want to scoop up the week winner, again, it's less than a bag of Doritos. It costs $2.99. I'm going to have these available every single week. So if you want to scoop up week 12, week 13, week 14, you'll be able to do that. They're not live yet because I haven't created them yet. Or better yet, if you just want to join the Basement Brewed Fantasy Football family, we do have a promo code for anybody who's watching. Usually it's $19.99 per month, but we have a promo code for anybody who's watching. Promo code YouTube, all capital letters. That's going to get you 50% off for basically as long as you want. It's up to you to decide when you want to cancel, but as long as you stay subscribed, you get 50% off. So wap.com/BBFF, promo code YouTube. That's going to get you 50% off. It's going to get you every single week winner that we do from now all the way through the Super Bowl. It's going to get you monthly jersey giveaways, access to the Discord server. If you're subscribed at the beginning of next year, you're going to get all our best ball resources, draft guides, all of those things. So Tanner, why don't we take a minute and show these fine folks what they would get if they were a member of the BBFF family. What's up, my fellow fantasy football nerds? If you're looking to dominate your league from start to finish and win cool prizes along the way, it's time to join the Basement Brewed Fantasy Football family. As a member, you're going to get our brand new 2025 Draft Dominator, which is your ultimate guide with tiers, rankings, and season previews for over 280 players to make sure you walk out of your draft with the best team in the league. And that's only the beginning. You're also going to get our 2025 Week Winner, which gives you contextual matchup analysis for every single player in every single game, every single week, so that you can conquer those difficult start-sit dilemmas and dominate your weekly matchups. And let's not forget our amazing Discord community, which is a family of passionate fantasy football players sharing strategy, workshopping dilemmas, and helping each other dominate 24/7, 365. Plus, if that wasn't enough, every single month you're automatically entered into our autographed jersey giveaway. It truly is a no-brainer if you want to take your fantasy game to the next level, have the most fun you've ever had playing this game, and support a small but mighty business along the way. Sign up today for just $69 for an entire year. Seriously. That's 365 days of total domination, community, and giveaways for less than your last bar tab. Join the BBFF family right now using the link that we left for you in the description of this episode. I'll see you inside. Tanner, you killed it with that thing, man. You know what's the craziest thing about that for me all the time is that the only thing I did was turned on my camera and recorded, and you worked your magic and just made it this whole, I don't know. You're a master of your craft, sir. I applaud you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. So it was Ted McMillan, Roddy White.
Roddy White, baby.
We're going to go with Roddy White here just for nostalgia sake. I used to love that guy, man. I loved Roddy White back in the day.
Madden, was it Madden 98? Madden 2000? Or what was that?
It couldn't have been 98. It had to be, I think I was in it had to be 2006-ish, somewhere in that area.
Right.
Yeah. But
I don't know, man. Playing Madden with Roddy, it was a fun time.
Speaking of Madden, by the way, did you know, I just recently learned that they now make, and maybe they have for years, they now make Madden for Nintendo Switch, which I
didn't
love.
know that.
I didn't know that either, but I just recently found that out. I didn't buy it yet. I'm trying to not buy it because my kids want to get me a Christmas present, and that's an easy target for them. But man, I don't know if I can hold off for another month. I want to play some Madden, especially if I can just sit on my couch and just play on the Switch instead of I love it, dude. All right, whatever. Here we go. Let's start with Roddy White. Just kidding. We're going to start with Ted McMillan. I'll tell you right now, I'm not the biggest Ted McMillan fan this week. I'll tell you right now already, my answer is Rachaad White to this question. Maybe we can just leave it there. Ted McMillan's fine. He's doing fine. 9 games with Bryce Young. He's averaging 11.4 PPR points per game. That's solid. 7+ targets per game. That's solid. He scored 10+ PPR points in 6 of those 9 games. He had 2 games of 16 to 18. But it is worth noting that he played against these Falcons back in week 3, and he did manage just 7.8 PPR points on 8 targets. And that's because the matchup is tough. The Falcons are pretty tough on wide receivers this year. They're allowing the 12th most touchdowns, but the problem with that is we're not expecting the Panthers to score many points. The Panthers have a projected team total under 20. That suggests theoretically fewer than 3 touchdowns. So if we're not expecting many touchdowns, this portion of the matchup isn't particularly exciting. And besides, 12th, very mediocre. There's nothing that's it'd be different if that was 3rd most touchdowns, 4th most touchdowns. On the flip side, they're holding wide receivers with the 2nd fewest catches, 4th fewest yards, ultimately the 7th fewest PPR points per game. 10 wide receivers in 9 games have been able to get to 10. Only 5 have been able to get past 14. And then, excuse me, still recovering from being sick last week. And then we got Rachaad White. So Rachaad White, the arrow has been pointing down a little bit on Rachaad White, just based on Sean Tucker's been getting a lot more involved. Sounds like Bucky Irving is finally starting to make progress. He could be nearing a return. He's not coming back this week, so it should still be another week of RB2 production for Rachaad White. What we don't necessarily love about the game environment for the Buccaneers in particular, well, 2 parts. A, they just have a mediocre team total of about 22 points. The other thing is that they're 5-point road underdogs. That is the type of spread that starts to suggest, okay, the Bills could start to pull ahead. They could start to run away with it a little bit. That is the type of environment where an offense might abandon the run. However, if that were to happen, that's much, much worse news for Sean Tucker than it is for Rachaad White. Sean Tucker is the guy who butters his bread on rushing attempts. Rachaad White can still butter his bread in the passing game. So if they're going to have to throw the ball 40 times, we've seen Rachaad White rack up 5, 6, 7 targets in the past. So he might be okay. He might be fine regardless of how the script shakes out for the Buccaneers. He's played 5 games without Bucky Irving this year. He's averaging 13.5 PPR points. He's getting about 16.4 touches per game. He scored 23 points in week 5, 17 plus points in week 6, but he has just 8 to 10 points on 14 to 15 touches in each of the last 3 games. So that arrow's just been pointing down a little bit. I talked a little bit about this a moment ago. He was handling 75 to 87% of the backfield touches when Bucky Irving, over the first 3 games where Bucky Irving missed, but over the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, over the last 2 weeks, that number is down to 48 to 60% because Sean Tucker's getting more involved, averaging 38 to 40% of the backfield touches. The matchup itself is a friendly one. In fact, the Bills are pretty bad against running backs this year. They are holding them to the 10th fewest catches, 7th fewest receiving yards, but they're allowing the 3rd most rushing yards, the most rushing touchdowns, by the way. The Bills are allowing 1.3 rushing touchdowns every single game. Candidly, that might be more of a benefit to Sean Tucker than it is Rachaad White. But ultimately, they're allowing the 6th most PPR points per game, 4th most PPR points per touch. 9 different running backs in 9 games have been able to score 10 plus, 5 of which have gotten to 16, 3 of which have gotten over 31. The floor is going to be higher for Rachaad White than it is for Tet McMillan. And there just doesn't seem to be too much of a ceiling this week for Tet McMillan either, where you can see paths of Rachaad White racking up catches, or if this game turns into a shootout, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen could absolutely turn into a shootout at any point. All of those things make it I like Rachaad White a heck of a lot more than I like Tet McMillan this week.
There you go. There you listen, gentlemen. All right, let's see here. We'll keep things rolling here. Our guy from the West Coast, Mr. Jordan. Jordan, happy Sunday to you. Good morning, D1 RB, White or Judkins? We'll start there. Rachaad White or Judkins? So you just talked about Rachaad White.
Yeah.
And the potential of this game here. What about Judkins?
I was actually just going to applaud you for picking this one next because it flowed. Like we already did Rachaad White. We can go. It
already flowed. Yeah.
It'd be really cool if they just kept flowing that way. That'd be a lot easier. So Rachaad White, we ultimately feel okay about. Now, I will tell you, Quinshon Judkins had me kind of ripping out my hair when trying to figure out what to project for him this week, because on the plus side, his matchup is great. Like, he's got a really good matchup against the Ravens. We know that he's the offense for the Browns. Like, he is the offense. They're going to get him the ball as many times as they can. On the flip side, and this matters, the Browns are 7-point underdogs against the Ravens. That's a spread that starts to get pretty wide. Obviously, we know what Lamar Jackson and the Ravens offense is capable of. If this is the sort of thing where the Ravens are winning by 2, maybe 3 touchdowns by halftime, are the Bengals going to stay committed to the run in the second half and continue to give it to Quinshon Judkins? Or is it going to be the other rookie, Dylan Sampson, racking up catches out of the backfield because the Browns suddenly have to throw it 40 times in this game? So Judkins had me ripping out my hair. Now, I talked a little bit about this just a moment ago. it's really uncomfortable spot for a running back because the 7-point underdogs, like I said, that suggests a pass-heavy game script. They might get away from the run. The other problem is that they projected for just 16 points, and I think it's actually down to 15.5. That suggests very few touchdown opportunities. Okay, so a guy like Quinshon Judkins, he's going to need to do it on volume and touchdowns, both of which are at risk here, both of which are threatened in this environment against the Ravens. That's a red flag. That's a problem. Quinshon Judkins is a hell of a talent, great running back, someone that's a lot of fun to watch in real life, but the fantasy football environment is not a good one, at least this week. He has been strong, 13.4 PPR points per game, 19.2 touches per game. He's handling 69.7% of the backfield touches. He scored nice. He scored 10.1 PPR points on 13 touches against these Ravens back in week 2, which, by the way, was his NFL debut. He had a lower touch percentage in that game than he usually has because it was his first game. I'm treating him as a mid-range RB2. There's plenty of matchup-based upside, but also plenty of game script downside for Quinshon Judkins here. Now, if the Browns can just stick around, if they can somehow stay committed to the run, it's a great matchup for Judkins. The Ravens are allowing the 14th most rushing yards, 7th most catches, 8th most receiving yards. That's more of a benefit to Dylan Sampson than it is to Quinshon Judkins, but they're still allowing the 5th most touchdowns. Now, will the Browns have opportunities to score touchdowns? That's a different story. But they're ultimately allowing the 7th most PPR points per game and the 5th most PPR points per touch at 1. Theoretically, running backs are scoring 1 PPR point every time they touch the ball. So if you get him 15 touches, obviously it's not that simple. Fantasy football would be a really easy game to play if it was that simple, but ultimately it's a pretty good matchup. 12 different running backs in 9 games have been able to reach 10 plus PPR points against the Ravens, 7 of which have been able to get to 15, 3 of which have been able to get to 21. Ultimately, I'm projecting Quinshon Judkins for 11 to 15 PPR points. I do have Rachaad White projected for about 12 to 16 PPR points, and that is in alignment with the recommendation that I was going to make here. I would say the floor, at least in terms of touches, is going to be very similar between Rachaad White and Quinshon Judkins, but the ceiling is theoretically bigger, at least for this week, not every week. Like usually Quinshon Judkins is going to be a better play than Rachaad White, but this week in particular, if that Buccaneers-Bills game shoots out a little bit, the matchup is nice. Rachaad White should get plenty of opportunities. I'm going to go with Rachaad White in this one. It's a quote-unquote safer, I hate that word, but a safer bet than Quinshon Judkins at a similar ceiling.
Correct. And I was going back through some of our bets on the Rec Room Sports Hub. And we're looking at Judkins here. Judkins hasn't hit his prop bet. I think we're on 3 weeks in a row because all of us have been putting him down. So it's been a rough go there on the betting side of Judkins for the rush, at least rushing yards. So in that standpoint, so he also has 1 receiver he's looking at, but he has 3 guys: Persall, DJ Moore, or Christian Watson.
Yeah, I'll say right off the top, my brain is saying Ricky Pearsall here. It's risky and uncomfortable because, I mean, such a long layoff, right? 6 weeks or whatever it was. And the other thing, too, is that it's always concerning playing a guy who's coming off a long injury because you just don't know what their snap share is going to look like. Like, is he going to be a full-time player right away? Now, everything that I've seen, Tanner, I don't know if you've seen anything different. Everything that I've seen suggests he should jump right back into his regular role. Now, is his conditioning there? I don't know. Those are questions that we just can't have answers to going into it unless you have insider knowledge with the 49ers. Maybe we should have brought John Chapman on the show. He might have known. But
that's right. He'd have the inside information.
So, but I will say that prior to the injury, Pearsall was balling. Like he was having a really, really good season. So we might as well just go ahead and dive right into this thing. Now, that 49ers Cardinals game, it looks like a really friendly one for fantasy football purposes, right? We're up to a 48.5 over under And it's not just one-sided. It's expected to be a close game, right? It's just a 3.5 point spread. That's plenty close. Jacoby Brissett balling right now. Like, if Jacoby Brissett doesn't win MVP this year, we riot. I'm kidding, of course, but like he's balling right now.
He's having a great year.
Great year. So this game, the point is, this game has possible shootout written all over it, right? You got the 49ers projected for 26, Cardinals projected for 22.5, 48.5 point over under. You'll see that the defenses for both teams are mediocre at absolute best and absolute worst. So there's nothing to be afraid of with most of these matchups. It's a good game to target. Now, Ricky Pearsall in particular, we got Brock Purdy coming back. That's not a bad thing for Ricky Pearsall. He is, 6 games that he missed. He was off to a really solid start to start the season. He was averaging 14.6 PPR points per game. That's like high-end, mid-range wide receiver 2 numbers, which is great. 8 targets per game, so plenty of volumes. It was only 3 games, so we do have to take that with a grain of salt, right? Very small sample size, but the projection for Ricky Pearsall coming into this season was that he had an opportunity to compete for the number 1 wide receiver role in Brock Purdy's offense. So these numbers it is a small sample size, but these numbers aren't surprising. This is in alignment with what we expected coming into the season. It was a little bit boom or bust, right? He scored about 15 points in week 1, dropped down to 9 points in week 2, and then launched back up to 19 points in week 3. And guess what? That was against these very same Arizona Cardinals. So call it ironic, call it whatever you want, but it is at least interesting, if nothing else, that his best game of the season, a very small sample size, was against these very same Cardinals, suggesting there's not really anything to fear there. He had 11 targets in that game. Now, the one caveat, there was no Juwan Jennings. He didn't play in that contest. But we do have a little bit more data. We have a somewhat bigger sample size. If we look at the 5 games last year where Ricky Pearsall played 40+ offensive snaps with Brock Purdy, and by the way, it had to be a game that Brock Purdy threw at least 20+ passes. This is the depth of analysis I go to, you guys. If you want the week winner, this is the stuff that I'm looking for on a daily basis. I'm not just looking at, Ricky Pearsall is averaging this in his career. I'm telling you, in 5 games last year where he played at least 40 snaps, Brock Purdy threw at least 20 passes, Ricky Pearsall averaged 14.1 PPR points per game, which is in alignment with what we've seen so far this year, 14.6. So if he's fully healthy, if he's not going to be limited in any way, he's instantly back on the wide receiver 2 radar. He's better approached as a high-end wide receiver 3, just given the uncertainty. But there's nothing to be scared of with the matchup. The Cardinals are limiting wide receivers to the 5th fewest touchdowns, but they are allowing the 7th most catches, 13th most yards, 16th most PPR points per game. There have been 11 different wide receivers in 9 games that have been able to get you at least 12, which is pretty good. 7 of which have been able to get at least 15, 2 of which have been able to get at least 20. There's nothing to fear with this matchup. There's nothing to fear with the game environment. It looks like it could be a possible shootout. The only concern with Ricky Pearsall is that we just don't know how many snaps he's going to play, if his conditioning's in the right place. But ultimately, I feel pretty good about Ricky Pearsall. We're looking at about 11 to 15 PPR points. Thank you. And then we got DJ Moore as the next one. Man, DJ Moore, that has been if I find time this season, I'm planning on doing an article or a podcast episode about my biggest hits and my biggest misses. DJ Moore was a whiff for me. I was hammering DJ Moore in the 4th round. Early 4th, I was DJ Moore, DJ Moore, DJ Moore. I was also really excited about Rome Odunze. So I do have plenty of him, and that's great. But I thought DJ Moore was going to do a lot better than he had. It just hasn't.
A little bit more impactful,
Yeah,
you
for sure. I mean, he had a nice game a couple weeks ago, but ultimately, this dude is averaging 9.7 PPR points per game. He's only seen about 17% of the targets, which naturally makes him a little bit more boom or bust. He's averaging just 5.3 targets per game. It's hard to be a consistent contributor if you're only getting 5 targets per game. He ultimately this year, this is what he is. He's a low floor, solid ceiling wide receiver 4 flex. This is a possible shootout. The Bears-Vikings game, there is a little bit of shootout appeal there. They did have a healthy over under a 48.5 points. It suggests, and that's an identical over-under to that 49ers-Cardinals game. So there is some shootout potential here. The matchup itself is very similar. It's very mediocre, right? The Vikings are, it's mediocre, but it's subpar more than it's mediocre. They're holding wide receivers to the fewest catches, 11th fewest yards, 15th fewest touchdowns, ultimately the 8th fewest PPR points per game. Now, at the individual level, 10 different wide receivers in 9 games have been able to reach 9+ PPR points against the Vikings. But 7 of them have been able to reach 15+, which is pretty solid considering how weak they are at the team level. So
let's say AJ Brown in there. You guys see that?
AJ Brown
AJ
apparently
Brown.
He actually, that was one of his few good games. Yeah, AJ Brown had a good game. So that's start anybody against the Vikings. If AJ Brown can do it, anybody can do it. But yeah, man, I got DJ Moore projected for just 8 to 12. There's just no way to. I would rather roll with Ricky Pearsall. It looks like it's going to be a very similar ceiling, but Ricky Pearsall is going to. He is more featured in the 49ers offense than DJ Moore is featured in the Bears offense. And we have 10, 11 weeks of data to show us what DJ Moore is in Ben Johnson's offense. And it's not the most fantasy friendly thing out there. So I'm Ricky Pearsall is theoretically more risky because of the uncertainty, but it's not like we're getting anything guaranteed from DJ Moore. I'm going Ricky Pearsall there. Was there one more, or was it just those?
It was Christian Watson was your last one. I did look up Ian Rappaport this morning here just to see where we're at with some news that happened, late yesterday or early this morning. And right now, looks like Adrian Martinez got waived, so it looks like Brock Purdy must be good to go and back in. Yep. So that's a big highlight for Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah, and by the way, while we're randomly talking 49ers quarterbacks, anybody who's watching, if you're in a dynasty super flex league or a quarterback league, go ahead and throw out some buy low, not quite, but some buy low trade offers for Mac Jones. I've been seeing more and more recently that there could be some teams this offseason that go after Mac Jones as their starting quarterback. So if you can get him cheap right now as a stash for next year, you might walk into a starting quarterback. Just a random note that I felt like throwing out there. Tanner, did you see anything about whether or I have not, but I also haven't looked here in the last hour or two, anything about whether or not Matthew Golden is going to give it a go?
I have not seen anything yet. I'll keep an eye out here as I'm scrolling around, but I have not seen nothing about Golden just yet.
Okay. So that ultimately that would, it's not going to make a big impact on the Christian Watson thing. My answer here is going to be Ricky Pearsall over Christian Watson. We need Christian Watson to see more than 4 targets before we can actually expect anything out of him. He has 4 targets in every single game, if I'm not mistaken. He is going to have big games. We know what Christian Watson is. He's a big play type of wide receiver. He's not a volume guy, right? Romeo Doubs is more the volume guy. Christian Watson's the 4 catch, 96 yard, maybe a touchdown kind of guy. The matchup itself is fine. The Giants are not good against wide receivers. They allowed the 7th most PPR points per game. Tucker Kraft is out, so there's theoretically more volume. If Matthew Golden is going to be out, there's theoretically more volume. But Christian Watson is not going to be a big volume guy. And the other thing, too, is that the Packers are entering this game as 7-point road favorites, suggesting a plenty run-heavy type of environment, especially when you look at Josh Jacobs' matchup. The Giants are miserable against running backs this year. They're a friendly matchup for quarterbacks and wide receivers, and they're 10 times worse, or they're a 10 times better matchup for running backs. So if Matt LaFleur does the right thing, he should be giving the ball to Josh Jacobs 20+ times here. And if that happens, Jordan Love might not throw the ball 30 times. Christian Watson's targets are already low. He might not even see 4 targets in this game, especially if Matthew Golden does play. So there's much more floor and ceiling to Ricky Pearsall than there is to Christian Watson this week.
There you go. I was looking here. I don't know if you heard yet, Mikey, but no Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas is not expected to play. Yeah.
That's funny because when I wrote the week winner this week, I left him out of it. And then I usually, every Saturday, I do what I call a Saturday sweep, where I go through and I check out injury news, add players that need to be added, remove players that need to be removed, adjust where players are in the thing. And I was like, oh, well, it looks like, because Brian Thomas practiced limited all week. So I'm like, I guess he might try and give it a go, even though the data, like injury data, suggests players who have a high ankle sprain typically miss multiple weeks, mostly 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So I was really surprised, and I was like, I guess I'll add him. So thanks, Jaguars, for making me do all that extra work yesterday, only for him to not play. I guess I'll just rip him out. I'll rip him out of here real quick.
The good news, Drake London is expected to play despite illness and back, and Calvin Ridley is expected to come back here for the Titans today as well. So
Calvin Ridley's coming back, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ultimately, listen, if you roster Brian Thomas, this is ultimately a good thing because it gives him another week to heal, which is good. The other thing too is that you were possibly if you have him, you were possibly considering putting him in your lineup. So I know it might suck. Like, shoot, I don't have my wide receiver this week. I had serious doubts about how effective he would be with that ankle injury. Like, high ankle sprains are no joke, especially for guys like wide receivers who like have to pivot and change direction and all that. It's just not it saps all explosiveness. And Brian Thomas has been having a bad year anyway. Like, you probably would have been trapped into 3 or 4 points from Brian Thomas. So ultimately, this is a good thing that he's not playing.
There we go. We do have a trade question here. 12-team PPR, 1 flex. He's 5-5 currently. He's looking to trade. Hold on, other running backs. Okay, so he's looking to trade Demarcado, Swift, or Gadsden for Tyler Warren in Hampton. My other running backs are Kyron, Hendy, Mason, Tootin. I need to flex Loveland or Knox this week, but I have 78% to win right now. Does he do it?
This one breaks my brain a little bit. I gotta read this again.
So let's break it up.
Yeah,
let's do the trade part.
Yeah.
Would you trade Demarcado, Swift, and Gadsden for Warren and Hampton?
I have no issues with trading Demarcado. Swift, I don't want to trade. Just in general, I'm not saying in this trade. I don't really want to trade Swift. I mean, people don't realize it, but he's literally been an RB1 this year. So that's really tough to trade. I realize Kyle Monunga is just kind of like hanging around and making people anxious, making them uneasy. But earlier, so every Monday, I send out an email, let's call it, or a notification to all BBFF members. Basically, I call it the weekly notebook, where I basically go through and I look at snap shares and usage and backfield touches and all of the things that suggest whether or not a player is trending up or down in an offense, right? And DeAndre Swift was one of the most interesting ones coming into this week because we didn't know how the Kyle Monunga situation would play out last week. But ultimately, DeAndre Swift walked right back into his old role. He handled 60+% of the backfield touches, played most of the snaps. It was not the 50-50 split that I think a lot of people were expecting. It was very much DeAndre Swift's backfield. So that suggests to us that he should still be the lead dog moving forward, and he's playing really well. If he just stays healthy, stays on the field, stays in that offense, DeAndre Swift is a guy I would rather have in my roster than a guy that I would want to trade away. Same thing with Oronde Gadsden. Like, he's not one of those like flash in the pan, sell high type of tight ends. He's a legitimate TE1, and he's getting the volume to show it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's getting 6+ targets every single game. Now, don't get me wrong. People do need to brace themselves. There are going to be some down weeks for Gadsden. There's just there's so many mouths to feed in that offense. Like, Ladd McConkey is going to have his big games. Quentin Johnson's going to have a big game. Keenan Allen's going to have his big game. So eventually there's going to be times where Gadsden doesn't produce, but he is every bit every week tight end number 1 at this point, just based on the ceiling he brings. Now,
yeah, you got Gadsden last 5 games playing 75% of the snaps. He's averaging 15.6 PPR points per game, 6.6 targets, 5.4 catches, 78 yards, and 2 total touchdowns. So,
and that the target number is the most important one in that. Like the PPR points, that can always be skewed. In fact, I think for Gadsden it is. He had like a 29-point game somewhere in there, so that automatically elevates. You want to be cautious about averages because those numbers, like if you look at Trey Tucker, for example, Trey Tucker is technically averaging like 11 plus PPR points per game, but that's because he had one 40+ point game this year, and every other game has been less than like 11 points for Trey Tucker. So you want to be careful with averages. The key thing here for Gadsden is the targets. If he's getting 6+ targets per game in that offense, that's tight end one type of volume. So that's not the type of guy that I would want to trade away. Now, you'd be getting Tyler Warren in return, and that's fine. Tyler Warren is a great return. Like he's an every week number one tight end as well. I will say that I think Gadsden for Tyler Warren on a 1-for-1 is a little bit more even than I think people recognize. I'd still lean in Tyler Warren's direction, but Gadsden's not that far behind. Omarion Hampton is a complete dice roll in this trade because when he comes back, he should instantly be the number one running back. Again, he should be a workhorse in that offense. Kamani Vidal's been great, but he hasn't shown enough to suggest that he's suddenly going to force this like 50-50 split. This should be Hampton's backfield when he comes back. Now, A, when is he coming back? B, how effective is he going to be coming back? I don't know if there's enough. It's full PPR. I just don't know if there's enough here that like this trade is very 50-50. And there is a risk of you actually downgrading if you make this trade. There is a risk of Swift just straight up being better than Omarion Hampton. I'm not sure that this trade improves your lineup as much as you might think. So I'm fine with the trade if you want to do it, but there's ultimately, if I'm going to trade, I want it to make all the sense in the world for me. And this one just doesn't. It's like, it's very 50-50. It's fine and it's not fine. It's like, I don't know that this trade improves your roster.
Yeah, that's kind of obviously leaning that too. I know you got Kyron, and all Mason and Hendy and Tootin and whatever. I don't. I personally at this point would not make that trade. Just throwing out my personal aspect of this. Swift and Gadsden would be too much for a Hampton that we're still kind of waiting on to play at this point too. So yeah, especially since it is week. Was it week 11? Am I right? Week 11. Yeah, week 11. We're leading up to. You're getting closer to playoff time. It's starting to get some must wins. If I don't know if you're 5-5, you can't afford.
Oh yeah,
downfall in production.
Yep, that's a really really good point. And yeah, that's a really good point. 5-5, you're going to you want to be stacking up wins right now, and that can't be Hampton because Hampton's he's not back yet. I don't think he's coming back until after they're on by week 2. It's either 12 or 13. I think it might be next week. So that would be, you'd be missing him this week. You'd be missing him next week. This is the time where you got to start racking up some W's. Here's the last thing I'll say about it. I would prefer Tyler Warren over Gadsden. He's going to be a more consistent bet at tight end, but the ceiling is going to be similar with Gadsden. The uncertainty with Hampton would not be enough for me to give up Swift. Swift is like a reliable. He's more reliable than I think people recognize. He's a little bit touchdown dependent, but he's active in the passing game. It's just, there's nothing that tells me, hey, I need to do this trade. Especially, you made a really good point, Tanner, being 5-5 and like we need to stack up some wins.
And his other question there was,
like he's got a second.
Yeah. So basically, Loveland he's looking he needs a flex, Loveland or Knox.
It's either way you look at it, ceiling or floor. It's going to be Loveland. Knox is not going to be a floor. Here, let me flash
Pop in the streamers tab.
Oh yeah, I didn't even go there. I should. I just wanted to note one really quick thing about Dawson Knox. He played in, by the way, Dalton Kincaid being out hurts the Bills offense, and it hurts people who roster Dalton Kincaid, but he was only averaging 4.5 targets per game. It's not like there's this massive like opportunity for targets for other players now. Dawson Knox played 54 career games before Dalton Kincaid came to town in 2023. He averaged 8.2 PPR points and just 4.2 targets per game. Now he did average 10.3 PPR points and 4.6 targets per game over 29 games between 2021 and 2022, his best years with Josh Allen. But ultimately with Dawson Knox, it's the same as it's always been. He's very touchdown or bust. Like, it's not going to be, if you're putting Dawson Knox in there, you're not betting on 6 or 7 catches. You're hoping he catches 2 or 3 passes, 30 yards, and a touchdown. That's ultimately what you're going for. Now, with the Bills offense, a touchdown is always possible. But ultimately, Colston Loveland he was what, Tanner? I think the 10th overall pick
somewhere in there. Yeah.
Year. Like, the Bears drafted Colston Loveland for a reason. And lately, over the last few weeks, has been getting more and more and more involved. He's flashing that ceiling that people know is coming. And the thing is, his ceiling is going to be much higher than Dawson Knox. The ceiling for Colston Loveland is legitimately 20 plus PPR points. And the floor, it's not great by any means, but neither is Dawson Knox. So you're going to get a very similar floor at a much, much higher ceiling. So I'm going Colston Loveland here for sure.
Now, Mikey, just about, I guess, 14 minutes ago now, for Schultz, Keon Coleman will not play today.
Interesting. See,
I don't know if that does anything.
No, it doesn't change my answer at all. No, if anything, that's like good news for Khalil Shakir. Maybe that gets an extra target over to Dawson Knox, but Keon Coleman's the same thing. I think Keon Coleman is averaging. Yeah, let me pop that open. Keon Coleman's only getting 5.4 targets per game, so maybe Dawson Knox gets an extra target or 2. But ultimately, I think that's more Khalil Shakir. Josh Palmer, that's a big boost for Josh Palmer. Palmer's super risky too because he's coming off a long injury. We don't know, like, are they just going to throw him into a full-time role? I don't know if it says anything in the report, Tanner, about who's expected to be the guy who, because Keon Coleman is no.
They did elevate Mecole Hardman and Gabe Davis. So
former Packer and former Chief Mecole Hardman.
Yep.
I almost forget that he was on the Packers, which is funny. No offense and no shame to Mecole Hardman, but I feel bad actually saying this out loud, but we were at the NFL draft at Lambeau Field this past April, and Mecole Hardman was given out. He was at a table signing autographs, and my wife, who was with me at the time, and she goes, "Hey, should we pop over and get an autograph?" I was like, no, like he's not even going to be, I said, he's not even going to be on this team in like 2 months. So I don't know what we're doing here, but I feel bad saying
great guy, by the way. I did get a chance to like shake his hand and meet him in person.
Oh, nice.
Fabulous guy. But
that's awesome.
He's kind of a one style guy, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And it's the sort of thing where it's like, okay, the Bills activated him, and sure, it's possible he just jumps right in and plays 90% of the snaps, but there's Josh Palmer, Elijah Moore, Curtis Samuel,
Gabe Davis is back. Josh Allen loves Gabe Davis.
Totally, dude. And so we just we need some sort of concrete report of who is going to be the guy that play. Like Keon Coleman is playing a ton of snaps, right? 60-70% of the snaps, but who is going to be the guy that, like, are we going to have another 70% snap wide receiver, or is it just going to be this giant mix of guys playing 40, 50, 60% of the snaps, right? So that doesn't change my answer at all for the Colston Loveland versus Dawson Knox.
There you go. Hopefully that helps you out, Patrick, here on some things here. Jay Keefe out here. A couple questions for you guys. Looking at full PPR, he's looking at Ladd or AJ Brown. And then we'll do the second part here after that. But Ladd or AJ Brown? I mean, we already talked AJ Brown here earlier in the show, so you might check that out, Jay. But what about Ladd?
Yeah, good call, Tanner. We did talk AJ Brown, Jay. So if you were here, hopefully you got to catch that. If you weren't, you can always, Tanner, this will be on YouTube, right? They can rewind and go back to it. Yep. we'll talk a little bit. Ultimately, the TLDR for AJ Brown is that there is optimism this week. It's a nice game with the Lions, nice matchup. The data suggests he could have a nice week. Now, Ladd McConkey, we talked a little bit about the game environment. It should be a decent one, a solid one, right? Chargers projected for 23.25 points. That's above average. Ladd McConkey got off to a really slow start this year, but he's definitely picked it up over the last couple weeks. He's averaging 13.8 PPR points per game. He's getting about 23% of the targets, eight plus targets every single game. He scored 15 plus PPR points in 4 of the last 5 contests, including 3 games over 20. Over the last 5 games, he's averaging 18 PPR points per game. That's legitimate wide receiver 1 numbers. So if he keeps that pace, keeps that momentum going, we're looking at a wide receiver 1 here with Ladd McConkey. The matchup is friendly. 9 games, the Jaguars are allowing the 11th most catches, 15th most yards, 6th most touchdowns. Didn't we do? Oh, we talked about this with Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen, but it's ultimately a good matchup for wide receivers going against the Jaguars. They allow plenty of production. To me, I'm going Ladd McConkey here. Now listen, AJ Brown as a talent is obviously more than capable of outscoring Ladd McConkey in any given. AJ Brown is more than capable of being the wide receiver 1 in any given week, but it's just this year, literally, he's like wide receiver 45 on the season. It's just, it hasn't been the same AJ Brown, you know? So I'm going Ladd McConkey here. There's going to be a very similar ceiling with a theoretically better floor. It's easy to feel much more confident in Ladd McConkey than AJ Brown.
There you go. And then Jay also wanted to know, he's looking at pick 2. So full PPR, he's looking at Zay Flowers, Chase Brown, and Kyren Williams.
And pick 2, Zay.
So bench 1. Bench 1.
Okay. Zay Flowers, Chase Brown, Kyren Williams. Kyren, you have to leave in there just from a sheer floor standpoint. Zay Flowers is one that just off the top of the dome, I'm not going to feel particularly good about. Going to Seahawks Rams. Ooh, this is good. This is good coffee. Wife did a good job here. Seahawks Rams. This game, I'm looking forward to this game just as an NFL fan, not even from a fantasy football standpoint. Like this thing is for the division. Like it should be a really fun game. But even from a fantasy football standpoint, it's a friendly game. Seahawks Rams 48.5 point over under. Both teams projected team total is at least 22 points. It's a good game environment. Kyren Williams, I think, there are a lot of people that were worried about how involved Blake Corum was after last week's contest for the Rams. I sent out a little bit of a message, a notification, an email. It was in the waiver wire winner. I made a message like, hey, don't get me wrong. Blake Corum is somebody that you want to stash at the end of your bench, but be careful about suddenly expecting him to because here's the thing with Blake Corum. Over the last there have been, I think, 3 or 4 instances over the last couple of weeks where he's racked up 10 plus touches. The thing is, in those games, the Rams blew out their opponents, and it made it easy for them to go run heavy, kill the clock, bring in Blake Corum. This is not that. This doesn't set up as that kind of game. This sets up as a very close game, possible shootout, very important game where the Rams this is for the division. Kyren Williams he's not in any way threatened as the workhorse or as the leader in that backfield. He is seeing 70.3% of the backfield touches. He's getting 18 plus touches every single game. He is a locked-in RB1 just based on floor and volume alone. There's nothing at all that's exciting about the matchup. The Seahawks are tough matchup for running backs. They hold them to the 10th fewest scrimmage yards, 7th fewest touchdowns, 12th fewest PPR points per game, 11th fewest PPR points per touch. They are particularly terrifying as a matchup on the ground specifically. They hold running backs to the 2nd fewest rushing yards and 5th fewest rushing touchdowns. Where they're bleeding, where they're vulnerable is in the passing game. They do allow the 2nd most RB catches, 3rd most RB receiving yards, and 11th most RB receiving touchdowns. Now, Kyren Williams, he is seeing about 3.2 targets per game. That's not like, we're obviously not talking Christian McCaffrey level usage as a receiver, but we know that he's capable as a receiver out of the backfield. So there is some vulnerability to exploit for Kyren Williams. Even if not, he should get all the volume he can handle. The Seahawks have allowed 8 different running backs in 9 games to score 10 plus PPR points, but just 3 of them have been able to get to 14 plus. And by the way, if you strip the receiving statistics, only 1 running back this year has been able to get to 14 PPR points against the Rams if you take away receiving stats. But floor-wise, it's hard to bench Kyren Williams. He's a locked-in RB1. I still have him projected for 15 to 20 PPR points in this very, very important game. Zay Flowers, the thing that I don't love about this environment for Zay Flowers is that the Ravens are 7-point favorites. That suggests, I mean, look, if you think about Lamar Jackson and the Ravens versus Dylan Gabriel and the Browns, it's really easy to envision a scenario where the Ravens are winning by multiple scores by halftime. Second half rolls around, they're just turning around and giving it to King Henry, right? It's just one of those games where Lamar Jackson should not have to throw the ball 40 times. He's obviously plenty capable. He's a dang good quarterback, but there's not going to be a need for Lamar Jackson to do crazy stuff putting the football in the air. There just might not be a lot of volume to go around for Zay Flowers. And then there's nothing that's particularly exciting about the matchup with the Browns. It's just ultimately what we're talking about here. I have them projected for 12 to 16 PPR points. We're talking about a theoretically similar ceiling between Zay Flowers and Kyren Williams, but a much, much, much higher floor for Kyren Williams just based on projection of touches. So there's so far we're going Kyren Williams over Zay Flowers. Feel pretty good about that one. And then Chase Brown.
Yep.
Dude, so one of my favorite moments of the season so far, one of my favorite highlights is when the Bengals acquired Flacco. I sent out an email to BBFF members like, hey, call me crazy. Keep in mind that so Jay actually just mentioned no Rashad Bateman today. Totally accounted for that. Rashad Bateman's only averaging 3.4, 3.4, I think, targets per game. Lamar went crazy throwing 4 touchdown passes. You're totally spot on. It's entirely possible that Zay Flowers could, obviously we know the ceiling is capable. It's just when you think about the floor of Kyren Williams, I'm still going Kyren Williams there. So what I was saying with Chase Brown, I sent out a notification for BBFF members. This was when Chase Brown was doing just terribly. And I said, hey guys, call me crazy, but with Joe Flacco in town, I'm actually sending out some buy low offers for Chase Brown. And thankfully, he's been playing really well since Joe Flacco came to town. He's averaging 12.6 PPR points per game. He's handling 15 plus touches per game, which, by the way, there's no Samaje Perine this week to siphon some of those touches. 75.8% of the backfield touches, 5 targets, which is always really helpful in games like this where the Bengals are projected to lose. In fact, I was hoping I had that in here. Chase Brown had 14 targets the last time that the Bengals were on the football field. 14 targets. That's just like what can happen when Joe Flacco is at quarterback. Like he say what you want about Joe Flacco, but he throws his guys the ball. Like Jamar Chase is averaging like 15 targets a game. So and the Bengals in this game, by the way, which I probably should have started here, Bengals Steelers, first of all, we've already seen Bengals Steelers, right? The quote unquote Bengay Bowl, Joe Flacco versus Aaron Rodgers. This game combined for, I think I wrote it in here. This game combined for 64 points just a few weeks ago in week 7. Both teams scored 31 or more points. Like this game projects as a shootout again. Both teams, it's a 49.5 point over under. We've already seen them put up a combined 64 points. There's should be plenty of touchdown opportunity, fantasy football fireworks. This is a game that you ultimately want to target in fantasy football. And the other part of this, by the way, is that the Bengals are actually 5-point underdogs here. So if the Steelers get ahead, play with the lead, it could be another scenario where Joe Flacco is throwing 40 plus passes, which might sound scary if you're considering the running back on the team. But again, 14 friggin' targets last week. I'm not saying he's going to get 14 again, but like it's totally possible. It's totally possible that we see him rack up targets and catches. He's heating up with Joe Flacco. He's got 100 plus scrimmage yards and 12 plus PPR points in each of the last 3 games. 25.5 points in week 8, 19 plus points in week 9. They were on bye in week 10. Things are starting to finally come around for Chase Brown. Matchup's not particularly pretty. The Steelers are a tough matchup for running backs. 16th fewest rushing yards, 14th fewest catches, 14th fewest receiving yards, 7th fewest touchdowns. You can read it all here if you want to, but ultimately for me, it's...
So you did say it could be a tight end heavy day based off recent trend for Baltimore.
Yeah, Lamar's first game back, Mark Andrews caught 2. I think
Isaiah Kolar get touchdowns.
Kolar got 1. I think all 4 touchdowns were tight ends. I think, yeah. I don't think that's necessarily a sign of what's to come. Now, let me back up for a quick minute. Isaiah Likely is definitely like in the mix. I don't think Kolar is really going to like emerge as a threat. Zay Flowers should still be the number 1 guy there, but when you consider floor and ceiling, it's hard for me to not lean towards the running backs in this one. Kyron Williams is a guy that I would want locked into my lineup almost every single week. Chase Brown is a guy that could rack up. He could literally have more targets and catches than the wide receiver in this conversation, which is Zay Flowers. So me personally, I'm going Chase Brown. If it helps to know from a projection standpoint, I have Chase Brown projected for about 12 to 16 PPR. I got Zay Flowers projected for about 12 to 16 PPR, but the floor is going to be a little bit better for Chase Brown.
Gotcha. So yeah, that's true, Jay, because I remember Joe Flacco coming over and Chase Brown's day as betting the under ended that day. So it really did.
Tanner's like, follow me for more betting advice.
Yeah, I have more for you experiences. So yeah. So basically you're looking at Chase Brown and Kyron Williams.
That's me. Yeah. I'm going Chase Brown and Kyron Williams there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. All right. We'll pop over here to Tim Olin. Did I run with Stafford or Flacco this week? What a decision.
Dang, dude.
He also says thanks for an awesome show. Appreciate you.
Hey, Tim. Appreciate it.
Stafford or Flacco?
Ooh. Stafford or Flacco? Let me give that a little bit of thought. But while I am thinking, just a quick reminder to anybody that's watching, Tanner and I are on an absolute mission to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're less than 80 away. If you're liking the show, it costs you absolutely nothing to tap that subscribe button on the Basement Brewed Fantasy Football channel. We'll be doing this live show every Sunday, 8 a.m. Central. In the off season, it won't be long before we fire up best ball content and NFL draft content. Like, this YouTube channel is not going away, guys, and we're doing everything that we can to build it up. And you know what? I'm going to throw one more shameless plug out there. I recently, like within the last 2 weeks, have made a conscious decision to place a concentrated focus on growing my Twitter account. So if you're on Twitter, you want to hang out with me over there, I'm at BBFF Mikey. Pretty easy. BBFF Mikey. Tanner, you're over there as well. What's your handle? Make sure people are following you as well.
It's like
12389, right?
And 12489. Actually, Mikey, if you have it on your name here, boom. So you can see mine there in the little parentheses. And then Mikey would be at BBFF Mikey. On
X. I just got to figure out how to do what you just did. All
right. So next week when you join, we'll put that in and get you there. So
BBFF Mikey. Anyway, whoa, dude! I tried to type in the comments and it like my screen went crazy. Anyway, we're good to go. All right, Joe Flacco, Matthew Stafford, dude. I will say this: I have any of my leagues, and I have 20 plus leagues that I manage, teams that I manage. Any of my leagues where I don't have an elite quarterback, where I don't have, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, those guys, Joe Flacco is my number one. I have him anywhere that I possibly can. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate that, sir. Joe Flacco, I have as my number one quarterback in every single league that I need a quarterback. Now, I also never had the opportunity to choose him or Matthew Stafford. So this one's going to be a fun one to dive into. Matthew Stafford, by the way, is quietly, I don't think we're talking about him for MVP enough this year. Like, dude, he's having one of the best seasons of his career. And it seems so quiet. It seems like nobody's talking about it. And of course, it's definitely showing up in fantasy football. We talked a little bit about this game, so we won't spend too much time here. Ultimately, this is a game you want exposure to in week 11 fantasy football. Seahawks Rams should be a little bit of a shootout, could be a little bit of a shootout. Two really good defenses, so maybe not. But Matthew Stafford is averaging 21.4 fantasy points per game. He is on fire. I'm actually going to bold this right now because it's important. He has scored 26 to 28 fantasy points in 5 of the last 6 games and 17 plus fantasy points in 6 of the last 9. Very nice games this year. But dude he's getting you 26 plus fantasy points per game over basically the last month. That's hard to compete with, no matter, like, Josh Allen isn't doing that. You know, it's wild. Guys like Matthew Stafford always scare me a little bit because there's zero rushing. So he has to throw 3 touchdowns for it to pay off. But you're going to get the same thing out of Joe Flacco. Although, shout out Joe Flacco, he did score a tush-push touchdown a couple weeks ago. So anytime you get 41-year-old Joe Flacco scoring a rushing touchdown, that's not something you're banking on. But listen, I mean, the spot for Matthew Stafford, there's nothing that's scary about it at all. The Seahawks are a mediocre matchup for quarterbacks. They are allowing the 11th most passing yards. That's where Matthew Stafford does his damage. They're allowing the 11th most rushing yards. That doesn't help Stafford at all. 16th most rushing touchdowns doesn't help Stafford at all. But they are holding them to the 12th fewest passing touchdowns, but that's very mediocre. Ultimately, they're holding quarterbacks to the 14th fewest points per game. Very mediocre matchup, the Seahawks. There's nothing scary, nothing exciting. It's just mediocre. 6 quarterbacks in 9 games. Nice. They have been able to score 15 plus fantasy points against the Seahawks, 2 of which have been able to get to 20. It's a solid spot in what probably feels like a must-win game for the Rams. I got Stafford projected for 19 to 24. So I would feel really good about having Matthew Stafford in my lineup. Problem is, I would also feel really good about having Joey Flacco in my Joey Flacco. What I gotta find what game this is.
There he is.
I don't even see him. Where?
Down two from Josh. 1 up from T. Nope, left. Feel good.
What are we doing?
And
Cincinnati. Oh my god, dude! I was looking for Cleveland.
The other Brown team.
That's not the first time that's happened to me this year, where when I'm looking for Joe Flacco, I look for Cleveland. It's like it's almost like my brain hasn't caught up that he got traded yet. All right, here we go. I was like, I thought Browns Ravens was lower. I was like looking for Browns Ravens. Anyway, all right, so Joey Flacco, dude, like, here's the thing. I love him this week. And guy is going crazy. He's going crazy. It's on small sample size, so you got to be careful. But 4 games with the Bengals, Joe Flacco is averaging 24.4 fantasy points per game. Do you know how hard that is to do if you don't run the football in fantasy football? Like, the guys who do this are the Josh Allens, the Lamar Jacksons that give you rushing stats. The fact that he's averaging 24 plus on passing stats is wild. This is a big part of why the Bengals have to throw the ball 43 plus times per game with Joe Flacco, which, you know, you can say what you will about the Bengals defense, but the Bengals defense lets us get fantasy points on the offensive side of the ball.
True.
Joe Flacco's averaging 313 plus passing yards in every game with the Bengals. He scored 16 plus in all 4 games with Cincinnati, 24 plus in 3 of 4 games with Cincinnati. He had a high of 30.7 his very last time on the field with Cincinnati in week 9. He's a legitimate QB1 streamer. In this possible shootout, we talked about this game. Excuse me. Talked about this game being a shootout, right? 49.5 over under. We saw these teams put up 60 plus points the last time, which was only a few weeks ago. It's not like it was super long ago. And then, oh yeah, the matchup. The matchup, man. The Steelers, miserable against quarterbacks and wide receivers this year. They are allowing the most passing yards, which, by the way, if Joey Flacco is getting you 300 plus passing yards a game and he's going up against a defense that gives up more passing yards than any other defense, there's no way that's a bad thing. 13th most passing touchdowns. 7 quarterbacks in 9 games, including Joe Flacco himself, by the way, have scored 15 plus fantasy points against the Steelers. 4 of them, including Joe Flacco, have scored 21 plus against the Steelers. 3 of them, including Joe Flacco, have scored 25 plus fantasy points against the Steelers. And now you got a game where the Bengals are actually projected to lose this game by 5.5 points. That suggests they're going to have to throw the ball. Joe Flacco's a good bet for another 40 plus pass attempts in this game. Like, there's a lot to love about Joe Flacco this week. I have him projected for 21 to 26, and I can't believe I'm saying it, but I'm going with Flacco over Stafford this week. Not every week, but this week I'm going Flacco over Stafford.
There you go, Tim. Let's add Dak to it. Let's add Dak to the list here. Jay has Stafford or Dak.
So, now this one's tough. I mean, the last one was tough. This one's tough too. Ultimately, I can't believe this is the first time we're talking about the Cowboys-Raiders game, by the way. That game, that's one of the games you want to target this week as well. That game, pretty much any game with Dallas this year is going to be a shootout because of how atrocious that defense is. We're looking at
by the way, we do have the trades that they did make. Everybody seems to be starting now on the trade. So, I mean, this is also going to be a game where we see what the impact of the trades made for the defensive side of Dallas is going to look like. So,
yeah. And again, that'll be like the first. Well, no, they played one with. No, they didn't. So they got Quinn and Williams.
No, they didn't. It's from the Bengals. I can't remember all the names.
Oh,
right
yeah.
Now, but
I do remember thinking that's funny that it was like the Cowboys are like, oh man, our defense is so bad. We need to make some trades to improve. And then they go to the Bengals. Like, but
hey,
I mean,
hey, look, they got some good guys out there in the Bengals. They do have some good vets
for sure. 100%.
So.
Yeah, and ultimately, here's the thing: it's their first game with the team. Defensive side of the ball, it's hard to like expect somebody to come in and just instantly like improve the entire defense. Ultimately, it's not something I'm particularly worried about from a fantasy standpoint, but this game looks like a good one for fantasy purposes. 50.5 point over under. Both teams have top 13 projected team totals. Cowboys team total is huge. They're projected to score 27 points this week. That is third highest among all 30 teams that are playing. All this means is you want exposure to Cowboys this week. You want exposure to Raiders this week as well. Dak Prescott's having a solid season, 18 plus fantasy points per game. He gets you 10 plus points at least 75% of the time. He gets you 22 plus points 50% of the time. So there's a nice ceiling there. And he's getting you 29 plus points 10% of the time. We have him locked in as a QB1 in this. The matchup itself is very mediocre. It's not scary. It's just not like mouthwatering the same way that the Steelers matchup is mouthwatering. The Raiders are holding quarterbacks to the 16th fewest passing yards. That's super mediocre. That's nothing. 10th fewest passing touchdowns, 10th fewest rushing touchdowns. They're allowing the 10th fewest rushing yards, excuse me. They're allowing the 5th most rushing touchdowns, 16th most fantasy points per game. Super middle of the, like, you got all 32 teams here. They're like smack dab in the middle. There's nothing scary about them. There's nothing exciting about them. Just very mediocre. 5 quarterbacks in 9 games have been able to reach 16, 4 of which were able to get to 20, but 4 quarterbacks in 9 games came up short of 15 fantasy points. So ultimately, I have Dak attack projected for 21 to 26, which is actually higher than where I had Stafford. I believe he was 19 to 24. The thing here is that I want exposure to this Cowboys Raiders game. I personally would lean ever so slightly in Dak Prescott's direction on this one, just based on the the environment of that game and what we're expecting that game to be. I mean, the Cowboys alone are projected to score more points than the Rams are. And if all of those are passing touchdowns, then, then Dak outscores Matthew Stafford. Obviously, it's not that simple, but you had a high scoring offense, a game that could go back and forth. Nothing scary about the matchup. I'm going Dak here. It's very, very close, though. I'd call it like 51 to 49%.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Scott Kobat here, DK or Wandale Robinson. No dart today. Jameis time. Jameis is slinging
baby.
it.
So
I don't know, man.
I was just talking. So if anybody listening is from Wisconsin, or even if you're not, every Friday at 12:20 Central, sometimes 1 o'clock Central, I go on the Mason Crosby Show, which is a local radio show here in Milwaukee. But even if you're not in Milwaukee, you can listen on Odyssey, or there's a YouTube link you can join. And a lot of times when I'm on that show, we talk about the upcoming Packers game and what to look for from a fantasy football standpoint in the Packers game. Naturally, Jameis Winston came up. We talked a little bit about Wandale Robinson, and I will say, let me pop open the WW here. I recently upgraded Wandale Robinson in the week winner of week 11 because Darius Slayton is not going to play in this game. That one I was so upset about. Like, if there's one quarterback in the world that Darius Slayton would play well with,
Oh,
cut out.
Did you freeze? There you are. Okay, you're back.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately that means more targets for Wandale Robinson, more targets for Theo Johnson. What I think is going to be really interesting for that Giants game, and again, keep in mind, everybody, I have not been paying attention to headlines over the last 3 hours, so maybe news has already broke about this. Really interested to see who is going to step up as the Giants' starting wide receiver in the absence of Darius Slayton, because Darius Slayton plays like dang near 100% of, it's like 90 to 100% of the snaps. Somebody has to fill that role. Now, in recent weeks, we saw little Jordan Humphrey do it, but he was claimed by the Broncos, or he was signed off the practice squad by the Broncos. He's not even with the team anymore. Last week, Gunnar, what's his name? Olszewski. I don't know. I have no idea how to say it. He's been around forever.
Pretty close, I'd say.
Yeah, but he was the guy who played the most snaps among Giants wide receivers outside of Wandale Robinson. So that suggests he is somebody who could be up there. But they also brought back Isaiah Hodgins. Jalen Hyatt is still on the roster. He's a third round. He was a third round pick for those guys in 2023. This is going to be the Giants' first game with a different head coach. And the reason that is important is Jalen Hyatt has played a grand total of 0 snaps over the last 3 games, but there's no, new head coach, no Darius Slayton. Could he be the guy? The problem is we have no idea, no clue who's going to be the next guy. Ultimately, that just means slight boost for Wandale Robinson and Theo Johnson. Wandale Robinson has now played 6 games without Malik Neighbors, and he's been a solid fantasy football investment. He's getting 13 plus PPR points per game, 8.7 targets, which is really strong. He, like you mentioned, Tanner, he's now going to be catching passes from Jameis Winston. And I wrote here, if there's one thing we learned about Jameis Winston over the years, it's that he's willing to YOLO ball it. Like, this guy will chuck it all over the field. He doesn't care. Like, he's flinging it. Right. 3 of the 4 most heavily targeted seasons of Mike Evans' career came with Jameis Winston at quarterback. Okay. Including each of his 2 most highest targeted seasons. Mike Evans' career high in catches, that was with Jameis Winston in 2016. 3 of his highest yardage seasons, Jameis Winston was his quarterback. And it's not just Mike Evans. The best year of Chris Godwin's career in terms of most touchdowns, most yards, Jameis Winston was his quarterback. So, like, I wrote here, someone in this Giants pass catching core is going to eat or at least get fed. Like, Jameis Winston is not going to be shy about throwing the ball around. The trick with Wandale Robinson is that he doesn't run a lot of high leverage routes. Like he's very rarely that like deep threat touchdown guy. It's more of a volume thing for Wan'Dale Robinson. So we're going to need Jameis Winston to like keep it short sometimes. Now, the matchup itself, not necessarily exciting for Wan'Dale. At the team level, the Packers are a mediocre matchup for wide receivers. 16th most catches, 12th fewest yards, 15th fewest touchdowns, 13th fewest PPR points per game. All of that is very mediocre. The trick is when you look at their resume against individual wide receivers, where they've actually been pretty solid. There have just been 8 wide receivers in 9 games that have been able to reach even just 10 PPR points against the Packers. That's less than 1 per game. Reaching just 10. 10's not even that good. 6 wide receivers in 9 games have been able to get to 12. 12's not even that great. That's very like meh. That's like wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. And only 6 wide receivers in 9 games have been able to get to 12, 2 of which have been able to get to 18. Granted, those 2 were able to score 25 plus. So there's just not too much to love about the matchup, although targets shouldn't be hard to come by for Wan'Dale. Who was the other one?
Sorry. That was DK. DK.
Oh, yeah. DK is going to be really hard to bench in this matchup only because of what we're expecting from this game, right? We've talked plenty about Steelers-Bengals, possible shootout, 60-plus points the last time they were out there. That said, DK Metcalf himself was quiet the last time they were out there. He is averaging 12.5 PPR points per game with Aaron Rodgers. He's seen just 20.8% of the team's targets, which that's not bad by any means, but when you've seen what Aaron Rodgers has done in the past with like Devontae Adams, you expect a higher target share with his number 1 wide receiver, especially since the Steelers don't really have a second option. You'd expect DK Metcalf to have 25+% of the targets. He's getting about 6 targets per game, 3.6 catches per game. He somehow scored just 8 PPR points on just 5 targets against the Bengals in that week 7 contest that scored 63, 64 points, which is wild. Like, how the Steelers can score 31 points with DK Metcalf doing almost nothing is crazy to me. But the Bengals itself, very mediocre. 13th fewest catches, 16th fewest. There's just nothing about that matchup that's exciting. There have been 13 different wide receivers in 10 games that have scored 10-plus PPR points, 8 of which have been able to get to 15, only 1 of which has been able to get to 20. Ultimately, I have DK projected for about 12 to 17 PPR points. I got Wan'Dale projected for about 12 to 17. To me, this is one of those classic cases of, do you need floor or do you need ceiling? Like if you look at your project, like somebody recently, I think it was Jay Keefe, mentioned in his situation, he was projected to win by 73%, or maybe it wasn't Jay Keefe, whatever. If you're projected to win and win by a lot, Wan'Dale Robinson is going to be a safer bet for targets. He's simply more involved in that offense than DK Metcalf is. But we know what DK Metcalf's ceiling can be, especially in a game like this. DK Metcalf is going to be your ceiling play. Wan'Dale Robinson is going to be your floor play.
There you go. Hopefully that helps Scott and that matter. You know, a little fun one, a little early preview for a bet I do have out there, including Jameis Winston. His prop bet the other day, I don't know if it still is. I'll have to look what the updated number is, but it was 228.5 passing yards. Okay. I have the under in that going in to today. And the only reason I have the under is because what the Packers defense does to quarterbacks. The only 2 guys that have gone over this season of that line that they've faced is Jacoby and Dak. That's it. Everybody else has been under. And that's the biggest thing. Yeah.
That game against the Cowboys was an absolute barn burner shootout. Like it's like, it makes sense that he went over because of how that game went, you know? So yeah.
And Jacoby out there, I mean, he was slinging it. That was the first or second game after Murray went out. So kind of anticipated that. But other than that, like they've held him. They've held him all season below that line. So
love it.
You played some good quarterbacks. So that's a little early preview, guys, for Jameis Winston bet there that I like.
Yeah, and by the way, Tanner, tell the good folks. I know we're going to be wrapping this one up very shortly here, but Tanner goes back to back on Sundays. Tell the folks what you're doing right after we hang up on this one.
On the Rec Room Sports Hub, it's my other channel I go to. Lock It In is our show. Scott Cobe actually is one of the guys. Alan Paralis is another. We're going to break down your player props. We're going to break down your game lines, your totals. We'll go, we look at the dogs. We look at the traps that are out there. We look to if we need to fade the hype, and then we give you each of our 5 best bets we like, whether that's props, game lines, or totals. We don't care what it is there. We also give you a lawn shot. By the way, the lawn shot for Allen, he swept last week. He did go over, or didn't hit the college one, but let's see if he hits the NFL one today. Go 2 weeks in a row there. Tyler Shuck in New Orleans, man. That was a lawn shot last week, and look what happened. Good money Tyler too Shuck. On it. So Tyler Shuck, baby. So, but yeah, I'll over on the Rec Room Sports Hub. Shortly after the show ends, we'll be picking it up and talking your NFL bets for the next hour and going over inactives as well. And always welcoming, because of the resources I have, always welcoming your fantasy football questions at the same time. So,
yeah. Tyler Shuck. It's not Tyler Show, by the way.
Nope, Tyler Shuck.
Which, by the way, anybody, I'm going to throw this out there because one thing that I don't talk about enough that I love doing every single week, we're talking a little bit about player props. It's a little bit different than player props. But if you go to drafters.com or download the Drafters app, they have pick'em contests the same way that you'd find on Underdog. Prize Picks. If you've played Prize Picks in the past, it's the exact same thing. It's you pick players more or less. So, for example, Tanner was just talking about Jameis Winston. I think he said 28.5 passing yards. If you like that one, you just pick more or less, and you just have to do at least 2 players, and you can play that one. If anybody's interested, I literally have free money that you can play with over on drafters.com, drafters.com. If you enter promo code BBFF when you're signing up and you're making your first deposit, Drafters is going to 100% match that deposit all the way up to $100. So if you put in $100, they're going to give you $100 free dollars to play with. Or if you do 20, they're going to give you 20. So enter promo code BBFF and you can play Pick'em over on drafters.com. They also have a really unique setup for their DFS. They do have DFS contests, but it's not like FanDuel. It's not like DraftKings. You actually draft your team. So you're entered into a room with, 3, 4, 5 other players. And if you draft Jameis Winston, somebody else doesn't get to draft that player. If you're in a 3 or 4, 5 team league, don't draft Jameis Winston, but you get what I'm saying.
If you see the little ticker down below, it's scrolling right now. Check out our Drafters Fantasy. Your promo code's in there. If you haven't played yet, go sign up. It's fun. Blast.
The other thing too is that if you didn't know, I draft over 500 best ball teams every single year. 100% of those are on Drafters. I don't play on Underdog. I don't play on DraftKings. I only play on Drafters. I love the platform. I love the people over there. So I highly recommend checking it out, whether you want to do DFS, Pick'em, if you want to do best ball, once the Super Bowl wraps up in February, Tanner, I'm hopping right back into those best ball drafts immediately.
I know you are. Yep. Trust me, I'm aware.
Yep. All right, man. Let's try and rapid fire. I'll do my best to not even touch the week winner.
Pull up your streamers tab. We got a few tight end streamers that we can get through a couple of these guys pretty quick here.
Let's do it.
All right, let's look here. It's a tight end time. Cade Otton or Ferguson?
Yeah. So what Tanner's talking about is here on the week winner, guys. We have I put together a streamers and stashes tab. On the right side, you're going to see running back or wide receivers that you want to keep an eye on. Running backs you want to stash on your bench if you have roster space. If you're in a pinch and you need a quarterback, you got streamers here. You'll see Joe Flacco is at the very, very top for this week. Defenses, if you want to know what defense to target. Kickers. We've been doing a kicker research project since week 1 of 2024. We have a ton of trends, a ton of analysis. We are accurately predicting kickers that are going to score 11 or more fantasy points on a weekly basis. It's wild. It's fun. I don't talk about it enough, but we have a little bit of a cheat code when it comes to kickers. All right, let's talk tight ends. First of all, we got Cade Otton. Cade Otton is always going to be a great streamer while Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are out of the picture. the game environment, we surprisingly haven't talked too much about Bills Buccaneers, but this game is one that theoretically could shoot out, right? You get Josh Allen, you get Baker Mayfield, both those guys on the field. It's the type of game that could shoot out. It's the type of game that you ultimately want exposure to. Buccaneers are 5-point underdogs. That suggests a pass-heavy approach. There should be some volume to go around in the passing game here for K. Dotton. Now, over his last 5 games, he's averaging 12 plus PPR points, and this part is really exciting. 7 plus targets per game. That's really, really strong for a tight end. He's getting you at least 10 PPR points in 4 of the last 5. He scored 17 plus last week. He has 5 plus targets, 4 plus catches, 40 to 82 yards in each of the last 5 games. And he's doing, this is a really exciting part, by the way. He's doing all of that without scoring a single touchdown during that time. So imagine how many fantasy points he'd be getting you if he started finding the end zone, which, by the way, one of the other tabs on the week winner is the touchdown regression tab, which shows you mathematically which players are most likely to score a touchdown sooner rather than later. Somebody was just asking about Zay Flowers. Keep in mind, he's at the very top of this list recently, which we've gotten right lately with Alec Pierce was on there a couple weeks ago, and I can't remember who else. Anyway, back to K. Dotton. Everything, it looks good for K. Dotton except the matchup. The matchup looks brutal. Buffalo has been really tough on tight ends this year. Fewest catches, fewest yards, fewest touchdowns, and then obviously fewest PPR points per game. Tight ends are scoring 5.9 PPR points per game against the Bills. That's it. Travis Kelce was able to put 10.6 on the Bills in week 9, but he's the only tight end that's been able to reach even just 8 PPR points against Buffalo this year. We've seen Mark Andrews come up short, Mason Taylor, Juwan Johnson, Hunter Henry, Kyle Pitts, Greg Dulcich, all of those guys came up short against the Buffalo Bills in fantasy football this year. Not Dallas Goedert, Jake Ferguson. I'll try and fly through this one, Tanner. I know you got to slide quick.
You're good.
We talked about the game environment. We want exposure to this game. Cowboys, Raiders, that's one we want to. After the thing is his splits with CD Lamb. Now, in 5 games with CD Lamb, he's still getting you 11 plus PPR points and 6.6 targets per game. He scored 10 plus in 3 of 5, but he also scored 8 or he scored fewer than 8 in the other 2 games with a big fat 0 in week 8. Now, we do know that he averaged 18.6 points and 8.3 targets in 4 games without Lamb, but he's ultimately a solid back end tight end 1. The problem is his matchup isn't particularly pretty either. The Raiders are holding tight ends to the 3rd fewest catches, 6th fewest yards, 5th fewest touchdowns, 4th fewest PPR points. 3 tight ends in 9 games have been able to reach even just 9 points. Not a single one has been able to get to 15. But all of that being said, there are really only 3 noteworthy names in those 9 games that it came up short against the Raiders. Zach Ertz, Travis Kelce, Evan Ingram. Everybody else is just guys that are typically on the waiver wire anyway. There's nothing that's particularly exciting about this matchup. I got Fergie projected for 9 to 13 points. I got K. Dotton projected for 7 to 11. You think about that game, Raiders, Cowboys, I'm going to slightly lean in Jake Ferguson's direction on this one.
Okay, we'll stick with the streamer, Kyle Pitts or Theo.
I'm going to end up going Kyle Pitts in this one. Theo Johnson there's a little bit of a boost to Theo Johnson considering Darius Slayton is going to miss this game. Actually, hold on. Maybe I'm not going to say Kyle Pitts. Let's see here. Giants are going to be flinging the ball all over the place. Jameis Winston's going to fling the ball all over the place. Theo Johnson's already been great without Malik Neighbors. 12.1 PPR points, 6 targets per game. He's like quietly balling. Not a lot of people talking about it. He's putting up tight end 1 numbers right now. He has 11 plus PPR points in 4 of the last 6 games, 15 plus in 2 of those. We know Jameis Winston's going to fling the ball all over the place. And by the way, this is a really good matchup for Theo Johnson. The Packers are terrible against tight ends this year. They're holding them to the 14th fewest yards, but allowing the 4th most catches, 10th most touchdowns, ultimately the 11th most PPR points per game. 5 in 9 games have been able to get to 11, 3 of which have been able to get to 17, 1 of which, Trey McBride, was able to get to 19. I do have Theo Johnson projected for 10 to 15 PPR points. Kyle Pitts is projected for 9 to 13. So that suggests I'm leaning towards Theo Johnson. Then part of that is because of this game. Falcons Panthers is just not a very exciting game for fantasy football purposes. The Falcons are projected for 23 points. Kyle Pitts is averaging 9.8 PPR points per game, 6+ targets per game in 8 games with Michael Penix. Scored fewer than 8 points in 5 of those 8 games. He scored just 7.9 points against these very same Panthers back in week 3. Now, the matchup itself is friendly, just like the Packers matchup is friendly. 13th most catches, 6th most yards, 14th most touchdowns, 7th most PPR points per game. 5 tight ends in 10 games have been able to put 11 plus points on the Panthers, 2 of which have been able to get to 19. And again, I have Kyle Pitts projected for about 9 to 13. This one is super close. I will say there's another additional boost to Theo Johnson without Darius Slayton. I suppose I would lead towards Theo Johnson, but not by much. I wouldn't even call it 51 to 49%. I would call it like 50.5% to 49.5%. Theo Johnson.
And then finally, we got a kicker. McPherson for Pinero. He dropped McPherson for Pinero. Is this the right move?
So I mentioned to you guys that we have a kicker research project going on for more than 12 months here. Let's put it this way. Evan McPherson checks 0 of the boxes that we're looking for in kickers that we're streaming this week, while Pinheiro checks 2 of the boxes, including the most important. This is the cheat code right here, is the spread. 3.5 point underdogs is like, that's what we want. So I'm going Eddie Pinheiro here. He's one of my favorite kickers on the slate.
There you go. Do you want to try to do a couple more fast pace?
Doesn't your show start 3 minutes ago?
We're starting 10:15. So
all right, let's
5 minutes.
Let's fire him off.
Henry Harvey.
Oh, I am instantly regretting agreeing to more of these.
You got to think though, RJ Harvey is going against one of the best run defenses currently today.
Like, you can't say that while wearing a Chiefs hat, man. That's like
one of the best run defenses today.
It's a solid spot for Derrick Henry. You'll see the blue dot next to the game environment. That's because the Ravens should be able to run the ball all day long. Like, they should be able to just put the ball in King Henry's belly. They're 7-point favorites. A very run heavy game script. King Henry's been fine. It hasn't been like the most sexy thing this year, but he's averaging 13.4 PPR points per game, 17 plus touches, which is really strong. Volume base RB2. It is a brutal matchup. He did score a season low 2.3 PPR points against these very same Browns back in week 2. And the Browns are nails against running backs. Really tough. They're holding them to the 10th fewest rushing yards, 5th fewest catches, fewest receiving yards, 4th fewest touchdowns, fewest PPR points per game, and ultimately the fewest PPR points per touch. Running backs are getting just 0.65 PPR points when they touch the ball against the Browns. Not good. Very, very difficult. Just 6 running backs in 9 games have been able to get even just 10 points, despite 11 of them handling 10 plus touches. Only 2 running backs this year have been able to get to 15 points against the Browns, none of which have been able to get to 20. Brutal matchup. Ultimately, I got Derrick Henry projected for 10 to 14 PPR points. RJ Harvey, man, it is officially RJ Harvey season with J.K. Dobbins on IR. I will say I got Harvey projected for slightly better than Derrick Henry. We're projected for about 11 to 15 PPR points. I do want to note that this is much more of a gamble than Derrick Henry is, because this is operating under the assumption that RJ Harvey essentially functions as a workhorse or bell cow for the Broncos. And that's a dangerous assumption, because they do still have Jaleel McLaughlin. They have Tyler Beatty, but ultimately they spent a pretty high draft pick on RJ Harvey. He's finally stepping into the role that we expected him to step into when they drafted him in the first place. It's wheels up for RJ Harvey moving forward. The game itself is a very important one for the Broncos. They're battling for the division. Shout out to the Chargers, but they're battling it's a very important division game with the Chiefs. Slim 3-point spread, so it shouldn't get particularly pass heavy or run heavy. They're not expected to score too many points, so that's a downgrade to the touchdown upside of RJ Harvey compared to the Ravens, right? The Ravens are expected to score more points, but Dobbins being on IR frees up 16 plus touches. second round pick RJ Harvey. He was a consensus top 12 pick in dynasty rookie drafts here. I won't dig into all this, but I included my analysis, what I wrote about RJ Harvey in my 2025 rookie rundown. If anybody wants access to this, of course, you can always scoop up the week winner. It's less than a bag of Doritos. Scan that QR code, go to wap.com/BBFF. But the matchup, like Tanner said, he is a Chiefs fan. He's a little bit biased. He's got the Chiefs hat, but he's right. The Chiefs are a tough matchup. 4 running backs, holding them to the 7th fewest PPR points, 15th fewest PPR points per touch. Just 6 in 9 games have been able to get to 10. 3 have been able to get to 14. 2 have been able to get to 18. Ultimately, I personally am leaning towards RJ Harvey on this one. And the biggest differentiator there is his usage or potential hopeful usage in the passing game. If the Broncos are going to have to stay active in the passing game, RJ Harvey is plenty capable as a pass catcher. That helps big time. If this is PPR, that we don't know, but ultimately all we're hoping for with Derrick Henry is a touchdown or two. We're expecting efficiency to be severely limited against Cleveland. This is a really tough one. Again, I'd call this 51-49 in favor of Harvey, but it's more like 50.1 to 49.9 in favor of Harvey.
All right. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. If you want that kind of breakdown as well, right here, week winner, wap.com/BBFF. You can go in the comments or the description. Sorry, it has the link for you if you can't scan the QR code right above me, and all that. So, I mean, it's available. Get it for the week. Try it out. Leave some feedback. Leave some comments.
Absolutely.
It's a great resource.
Yeah, man. And 20 plus hours of blood, sweat, and tears into this thing every week, and it's less than a bag of Doritos. I promise you, you've spent $3 on worse in your life. I promise you that. But yeah, I mean, this thing, if it's already too late and you've already made your decisions for the week, but you're looking forward to week 12, we're going to have the week 12 week winner, week 13, week 14, week 15. So keep an eye on wap.com/BBFF. If you just want to go ahead and get all of them for the rest of the season, plus access to the Discord server, monthly autographed jersey giveaways, all of our off-season content. There's plenty of ways you can do that. Again, wap.com/BBFF. Enter promo code YouTube, all caps. You're going to get half off for as long as you want. As long as you decide to stay subscribed, 50% off as long as you want. So, Tanner, let's button this thing up. You got anything else?
Here's the plan, guys. I realize Thursdays are pretty important as well. Not only does the week winner finish up and come out right before Thursday Night Football, but you still have fantasy football decisions to make. My plan is to be here live on Thursday nights. I already got my background set up. We're working on things. We're going to do it Thursday nights here on BBFF, Basement Brewed Fantasy Football's YouTube exclusive. So if you're not part of the YouTube channel yet, go subscribe, go hit that bell. I will only be on YouTube on Thursday night going over. We can look at the week winner together. We can answer your questions and just get ready for Thursday Night Football as well. So Thursday night, YouTube exclusive right here on Basement Brewed Fantasy Football. Come join. It'll be fun sometime between 6 and 6:30. Not a very long show, guys, because football starts at 7:15 Central, pretty much. So come join, come hang out with me on Thursday night, and we'll go over some fantasy football stuff.
Dude, you got me fired up. Maybe I might slide into these shows. We'll see.
You're always welcome.
I'll tell the kids they can wait. Soccer can wait. We need to talk fantasy football here. But yeah, man, otherwise, if you've enjoyed today's show, check out Tanner's next show that starts in about 4 minutes. Where is it, Tanner? Right here on YouTube, right? And everywhere.
Right, yeah, on YouTube. My ex at Tan12489. You can find me as well on Facebook. But Raccoon Sports Hub is the YouTube channel. Come check it out. Come have fun. Like I said, we're going to go over a lot of sports betting, and this is a resource I use to justify what I want on top of some others. So it's a big one. So
last but not least, y'all, if you enjoyed today's episode, if you appreciate the show, if you appreciate the content that we're putting out there, it costs you nothing to tap that subscribe button on the Basement Brewed Fantasy Football YouTube channel. Tap like on this episode. Go play Pick'em on Drafters, promo code BBFF, and scoop up the week winner, $2.99. Or just slide into a monthly subscription. Come hang out with us in the Discord server, which is always a great time. That's all we got. It's time for me to go set some DFS lineups, play some Pick'em over on Drafters. Tune in to Tanner's show, get my popcorn ready. It's been awesome, Tanner. Everybody who's watching, we really appreciate you tuning in. If we didn't have a chance to get to your question, I apologize, but you can always just scoop up the week winner and answer it yourself. That's all we got for you guys. Good luck here in week 11. We will see you on the fantasy football field next Sunday, 8 a.m. Central, right here on YouTube or Twitter or wherever the heck we're streaming. Cheers. This brew's for you guys.